So folks, the comprehensive plan website on our city planning and zoning website is where you'll find these two online surveys. The first one is, I want to kind of go through quickly. It's pretty straightforward. The mobility survey. And the reason why we have two surveys one focused on mobility, one focused on redevelopment. Frankly, these are cross-cutting issues that we just identified as being sort of integral to the health of the city in a lot of ways. Mobility impacts how we get around, impacts our health and resilience. Redevelopment impacts whether we have enough housing for people and whether people can move here, and whether we have retail opportunities close to where people live. And so that's why we kind of identified these two opportunities for surveying. And I'll just kind of quickly walk through the transportation survey. Question about how COVID-19 has impacted you. In my case, moderate effect. Where do I live? I'm going to say inside the city. And what will happen there is I will get sent to this question asking for what part of the city I live in. I'm going to click on that, and this will bring up a neighborhood's map of the city, or it should. Maybe a little slow, but it'll bring up that map that you saw earlier that shows the numbered areas of the city, and hopefully it will open, but let's see. Close a couple of these. That changes. Well, it's slow, but basically it will show you a graphic of the city that has those numbered areas, and you should be able to identify where you live in one of those zones. And hopefully that'll work when you try it. But I know that I live in the 14, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see if it's shown up. It hasn't shown up. We'll check on that. Age group, 41 to 60. What transportation restrictions apply to you? Of the following, check all that apply. For me, it's none of the above. And we're really interested in, this kind of gets into some more specifics, but about transportation choices. I go to downtown Annapolis, mostly I walk or bike. I go to work or school, mostly walk or bike. I go to exercise or play, walk around. I do bike a lot. I use my car for grocery shopping, other kinds of shopping. I use my car, DC, and some of this stuff, obviously things are different right now with COVID. I think we're interested in how you were doing this before COVID. How would you rate transportation in the city of Annapolis? Neutral. Which of the following transportation issues are most important to you? Please rank only your top 5 issues in order of importance. So this is a little tricky. I mean, you may want to read all of the options first, and then think about which ones are most important to you. I'm going to say, walking safety is my number 1 choice. My second choice is bike safety, condition of roads, transit services, and then say traffic congestion. Oops, see, I missed trails and greenways. It's probably in there too. But that's where we're interested in top 5 choices. Knowing that budgets have limitations, this is another ranked choice question, thinking about where you would prefer to put the budget that we have. Again, read through all the options before you make your selections. I'm going to say, and this is interesting, support telework to limit unnecessary travel. There are incentives that cities can provide to help people work from home. So that's an option here. I'm going to say, more bike lanes. I'm going to say improve roadway connectivity. I'm going to say maintenance of transportation facilities, intersection, and then intersection delays. And then any other recommendations on specific locations that could be improved that you want us to consider in the Annapolis Ahead Comprehensive Plan. I'll say Forest Drive at GM. And then I'm already going to be informed. So this is where you would put your email address, and it will send you information as it comes up. Oops. So pretty straightforward survey here that is responding very slow right now, but hopefully when you take it, it won't be. Yeah, there you go. There's our neighborhood map. It finally showed up. This is what it looks like. You can see all these zones. You can zoom in or zoom out to identify which zone you live in. And then there, our survey was submitted successfully. So that's the easy survey. The one that's a little bit more walking through is our redevelopment survey. It's mostly straightforward at first. I just want to kind of get to the mapping portion. So again, this is a image preference survey, the first part of it, and then the second part of it allows you to kind of show us where your preferences should happen within the city. So first of all, we want to understand where you live. This is functioning a little bit different than the other one, a little bit more user-friendly. You can just basically select on the map where you live. You can be approximate, and then you can hit next. And this is where we start to get into the development options that we're going to be showing you in regard to the kinds of redevelopment that we see as opportunities in the city, and trying to get a pulse on how people feel about some of these. So you're going to see images. We're going to ask you if you, on a scale from least prefer to most prefer, what you think of them. So starting with our mixed use development options, we have a description, what we mean by mixed use, and then we go through a series of examples. So mixed use development of shops, 2 to 3 stories of apartments above, oriented around a signature civic space. I am going to just go neutral on all of these, just to be simple, straightforward. Although I think some of them are nicer than others, but a small mixed use development of shops and offices or around a shared courtyard space. And, I should say that these are all examples from other cities comparable to Annapolis, examples that we thought would be appropriate here. I think none of this should be seen as terribly out of scale or character with the city. Some of it just has a very specific place where it might be best. And so that's where the map will come in. A walkable town center development with shops, offices, various types of housing and civic spaces. The thing is, you should be thinking about places that, really you find could be better used. development-wise in the city, and be thinking long-term, 10, 20 years. I think that's the way. This is not necessarily stuff that might happen tomorrow, but could. None of these are actual projects. They're just potential development types. A mixed-use streetscape with shops, street level, and 2 stories apartments above. Or a full block mixed-use development with shops and cafes at the street level with 3 stories of apartments above. So you can see slightly different than this, larger consolidated development, more urban maybe. And then a signature mixed-use development that defines a key intersection with a large anchor retail tenant, in this case, a bookstore, 2 to 4 stories of apartments above, and distinctive architecture. A standalone mixed-use development with shops and live workspace at the street level and 2 stories of apartments above. I also want to say, it's helpful to think about these as in the context of places that in Annapolis, or you spend time in, and places that you wish were better, in the kind of development they had. Looking at multifamily development options, these are all generally going to represent slight upticks in density, modest increases in density, but nothing really out of character for Annapolis. There's examples of most of these already in Annapolis. A 3-story multifamily development with a combination of townhouses and apartments, townhouses with front yards, townhouses without front yards, a stacked duplex, which is a 2-story building with 2 apartments, single-family detached homes on narrow lots, or a 4-plex. This could have more than 4 units potentially, but basically a 2-story building with 4 apartments. A 3-story apartment building with townhouse-style entrances, meaning these stoop entrances that may have multiple apartments from the same entrance. A 5-story apartment building designed around shared urban plazas. Now, this one, you might say, "Oh, where could this be in Annapolis?" But think about the corner of West Street and Chinkopin Road. Think about Upper West Street in general. There are opportunities for this kind of development there. That building at Chinkopin and West Street has been successful and has a strong streetscape character, and has retail at the ground floor and apartments above, and parking is tucked behind the building. On the completely opposite end of the spectrum, compact single-family detached homes with shared common space. Sometimes these are called courtyard cottages. Attached single-family homes with shared common space. It's kind of similar, but a little bit more dense. And then stacked triplex, 3-story building with 3 apartments. You see these a lot in New England. And then finally, accessory dwelling unit adjacent to a single-family home. There you go. Finally, we recognize that most new development really needs quality public space to be successful. So these are all examples of the kind of open spaces that should be integral with new development. So a large urban plaza with space for informal gathering or special events. Small urban plaza bounded by streetscapes. Courtyard plaza for informal gathering or special events. Urban plaza designed for retail spill-out space. Frankly, a lot of restaurants would benefit from this right now, and we're building these kind of in a pop-up way right now in several parts of the city to accommodate outdoor dining. So hopefully many of those will stick around. Event structure, this could happen in any number of existing parks probably. An urban multi-use trail. This is essentially the vision for the Poplar Trail extensions, the West-East Expressway. Tree-lined pedestrian promenade. This is an older example, but it could easily be something that's part of a new development, or something that we're talking about in West Annapolis that would have the ability for cars to move through in general, but could be closed down for festivals and events. Urban stormwater park. This is something that can be a great asset, in a place that floods. It also educates folks about water issues. Playground, playscape. This is just a more imaginative, Annapolis doesn't really have kind of destination playground yet. Probably could. Perhaps one will be at the city dock. We'll see. But this is just an example from another place. Urban Pocket Park, Public Art Plaza is just a way to integrate the arts with public space in a kind of more dedicated way. And I'm going to hit submit. And then this will then take me to a map, a second part of our survey where you have the opportunity to map your preferences. And so I know this seems like a pretty extensive survey. We think it's valuable sort of education as well for a lot of the things that folks here should be thinking about in terms of opportunities for new development that could really enhance the city. So we kind of put a lot of energy into it, and hopefully you'll take some time with it. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It takes you to a map with an intro, what kind of a welcome screen, tells you what you're doing here. Please use the following map to share the places in Annapolis where you'd like to see the preferred redevelopment options you just selected in part 1 of the survey. You can use the buttons in the upper left of the map to zoom in and zoom out, or change the base map to show more detail. I'll show you in a sec. Click on the buttons in the upper right of the map to select mixed-use redevelopment options, multifamily redevelopment options, or open space redevelopment options. After clicking on one of these redevelopment types, add a pin using the green button that follows. You may add as many pins for each redevelopment type as you would like, but please make sure to click on the blue Report It button to record each pin. The areas identified in dotted red lines are areas that city staff believe will likely redevelop in the next 10 to 20 years due to aging architecture, changing demographics, or potential for greater use. Please locate your redevelopment preferences in these areas first, although you are welcome to share other areas you believe should be redeveloped. So there you go. Looks like we already have some suggestions here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on mixed use, and what it'll do is take us to everything's a little slow right now, but let's see. I think hopefully this will be straightforward, and just wanted to, it's something that we haven't tried before, and so I just wanted to make sure folks could see how it's supposed to work. Now, clicking on these should be more seamless when you do it, but let's see if I can. Well, hopefully taking a little bit longer to load than usual. Let's see here. Time to twiddle your thumbs. All right, there we go. And I just want to say, you can zoom in and zoom out with your cursor, your mouse. You can also use, these tools. You can change the base map to an aerial view, any number of base maps. And so you basically just click this green button, and hopefully it won't take as long, but it will allow you to drop a pin where you would like to. And I'm going to say mixed use at this intersection, of Forest and Spa. I put that there. These are all the mixed use options that you just reviewed in images. I will say a small mixed use development of shops and offices, or oriented on a shared courtyard space. I'm going to say just seems right. Location. And then it's really important that you click that, and it will record it for you right there. You can then back up. You can add another mixed use redevelopment. You can add a multifamily open space. You can add as many as you would like. And when you're done, all you have to do is close out of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this is
Eric,
still
it
open.
looks like Quentin already used it earlier, and he said it was much faster.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Probably just because you're under pressure and the computer can sense that.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's it. That's how the map works. Hopefully it's quick, as it was for Quentin. And we hope you'll use it. We hope you'll share the surveys with other folks that are out there. That you think would be interested in what we're doing here, and we'll help to promote as well. But the surveys are going to be up until the end of December, and it'll be really interesting to see what people think. So